getting old can be expensive. Medical costs add up and all that sort of thing. So how can a farm family prepare to pay for all that, and how does this impact all this planning?
Planning for long-term care is a really important part of succession planning because, as you said, it can be expensive. So a nursing home costs can be $12,000 to $15,000 a month, which, yes, seems really a month.
Yeah.
So seems very outrageous and something that people don't plan ahead for. So those costs are usually paid for either by paying for the cost yourself with your assets, or using long-term care insurance if you have it, or if you qualify for Medicaid, then Medicaid can help pay for long-term care costs.
Can you get Medicaid up here in the North Country, or no?
Yeah, you can get Medicaid for nursing home care.
Okay.
The challenge is with Medicaid for home care. Medicaid for home care is generally available across all of New York State, but in rural counties like Essex, the way to get home care through Medicaid is usually by identifying your own caregiver and convincing that caregiver to be a part of kind of the Medicaid system and be paid through Medicaid. So a lot of home care agencies in the rural counties do not participate with Medicaid. So it makes it quite a challenge to receive home care and receive Medicaid.
Okay, so I guess if you don't have someone identified like that, we're talking nursing homes.
Yeah, it's important to plan for a nursing home. I used to say early in my career that I had never met anybody who wanted to go into a nursing home. Now, as I've had more years in my career, I have met people who do want to go into a nursing home. What happens is sometimes either the home care providers are not available and just a nursing home is a necessity, or sometimes people just need more care than a home care provider can provide. So it's important to plan for a nursing home, even if it's not what you want. And I've never met a farmer that said he or she wanted to go into a nursing home, but it's still important to plan for.
So thinking about all these long-term costs with healthcare and all that sort of thing, how do you see them impacting the farm?
So they impact farm family finances if the farmer doesn't have a long-term care policy that can provide enough coverage. And even if they can qualify for Medicaid, and sometimes they can, the rules for Medicaid are tricky and complicated, but depending on how the assets are held and where the parcels are located and things like that, the farmer may qualify for Medicaid, but even if they get that Medicaid for nursing home care, the state can try to recover for the costs paid for that farmer's care after they pass away. So the farmer may get care from Medicaid, but then the surprise bill happens for the next generation who has to deal with maybe a lien on the property and paying that off.
You mentioned long-term care insurance. Is that still a thing? Is that still available, or what's that?
Yeah, good question. Long-term care insurance is becoming less and less available.
Okay.
And there is a certain kind of policy that if you have it, you definitely want to tell your attorney about any long-term care insurance policy you have, and it's a good idea to review it ahead of time before meeting with the attorney. But there's one policy in particular called New York State Partnership Policy, and if you have that policy and they don't sell it anymore, it's like the golden ticket. It's like Willy Wonka because you, with that policy, when your care runs out or what it qualifies you for, you can automatically qualify for Medicaid while keeping a portion or all of your assets. It depends on the plan.
So when would be a good time for a farmer to really start thinking about these issues and start developing this plan?
So it's never really too early or too late to plan. Generally, if we're planning for long-term care costs and trying to set up a farmer in case they need Medicaid to be in a good situation, then usually our farmers are about 65 to 70 when we're really implementing changes in their estate plan for that purpose. But as I've said, really anybody over 18 should have an estate plan. They should have a will, healthcare proxy, and power of attorney.
Okay.
And if you're in your 50s or 60s, it is important to start identifying that next successor and putting together some sort of plan, even if you're not ready for that long-term care planning step.
But so when a farmer goes to sit down with you and to talk about this long-term care, what should they have already thought about and bring into that meeting so that they can have a good, productive discussion?
So it's important that they have already thought about what money they need for retirement. If they have long-term care costs, how they plan to pay for them. Do they have a long-term care insurance policy? We want to know that. Do they need to sell some land, or perhaps are they looking into a conservation easement to fund their retirement?
Right.
Those are really important things to figure out before we do planning for long-term care. Because for long-term, if we're planning for Medicaid, we're usually using an irrevocable trust. And you don't want to put your land in the irrevocable trust before you try to get a conservation easement. Because any money coming back to you from that conservation easement or purchase of development rights would not be able to actually come back to you to benefit you.
Right.
So those conversations are important to have early and to figure out early.
Yeah, so figure out that sequence, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. For more information on some of these topics, look up the New York FarmNet at nyfarmnet.org. Or, to find farmers that are interested in new farmland, go to nyfarmlandfinder.org.
For more information on farmland succession planning, you can visit Harris, Perrow, and Botello's website at saratogawills.com.
And for information on land conservation options for farmers, visit the Adirondack Land Trust website at adirondacklandtrust.org.